What do you do in the garden when it's raining? Well, for me, I pick a load of flowers and I arrange them to enjoy indoors. Now, if you're a novice gardener like me, I would love it if you would consider subscribing to my channel. All you need to do is tap the button marked subscribe, and that means next time you open the YouTube app on your phone, your tablet or your computer, one of my videos will be waiting for you. Now, this is the view of my garden from the kitchen window. Can you see the nerines just nodding their heads there? Well, for the last couple of weeks, they've been totally hidden by the borage that's come to the end of its life. So before I pick my flowers, I'm ripping up the borage and then getting down to it with my floristry scissors. So first of all, I'm cutting myself some Verbena bonariensis. You'd think I'd know how to say that now. I'm always struggling with it. Now, have you got some advice for me? Cosmos. Can you see the amazing lush growth I've got on my cosmos? But I've hardly had any flowers at all. I just don't know what the problem is. So I'm going to pick myself some cosmos and then move down to the bottom half of my cutting patch to pick some zinnias. I think I'm going to go for all four of them. Now, normally with my flowers, I would pick them and then allow the stem, the buds on the stem, to sprout out and give me another flower. The problem is we're now in the middle of October and it's going to be a bit of a race between me and how many flowers I can pick and when the first frost is going to arrive. So clearing out some more borage here next to my dahlias. And what I've decided to do with my dahlias and those zinnias and actually the cosmos, I'm cutting really long lengths. So there's a sign of a flower that's nearly in full bloom there. And then there's buds, sort of 5 or 6 buds on each plant. They may never flower indoors, but equally they may never flower out in the garden if the frost arrives. So we'll just have to wait and see. So in the meantime, I'm picking rather sort of exaggerated lengths of flower so that at least I can enjoy the fruits of my labours over the summer months without Mr. Frost coming along and spoiling things. Now, I don't know about you, but it has been tipping it down with rain. I think it's rained practically every single day in September. So that means the weeds have been growing. So as I'm in a little bit of a garden light mood, I'm going to tackle the weeds. So I think this is sow thistle. Can you see the lush growth of the teasel next to it? I have to decide what I'm going to do with that. I do not like teasel as a dried flower. It's far too prickly, but the seeds are really good for wildlife. I think it's the goldfinch that really likes the seeds. So we'll have to see who wins out there. Do I dig out the teasel or let the wildlife enjoy it when it comes into flower next year? So up close, this is the nerines I've got. I can see it out from my kitchen window. A little light weeding there as well. And now on to the best bit. Let's get flower arranging. And what I'm showing you here is a glass flower frog. Now, if you've been following me a while and you enjoy my thrift haul videos, you'll have seen me show you loads and loads of flower frogs. But look, I have got a silver container that goes with it. And this was gifted to me by my friend Lisa, who's one of my flower arranging pals, and I spend quite a lot of time with at the weekend, going to flower festivals and also visiting the charity shops. And I think Lisa said that this flower frog and a little silver container belonged to her grandma, who was a keen flower arranger. So watch on to the end of the video and I'll show you my completed flower arrangement. But if you want to have a little bit of a flower arranging tutorial, make sure you watch this section. So what I start off doing is putting 3 main anchor points into my container. I'm using the dahlia and I'm trimming it down to size. So where I can, where the stems are really long, trying to get 2 placements out of it. And I'm keeping a lot of the leafy foliage in because I haven't picked any greenery to go into my flower arrangement. I'm going to rely on the greenery that's attached to my flowers naturally to give me a little bit of oomph to fill out the shape of my arrangement a little bit. Zinnias next, so I pull off the bottom leaves and then recut the stem ends and slide them into the holes in the glass flower frog. What you'll see me doing later on when I got more flowers in there is really having to look and see where the holes are, and making sure that the flowers were actually sitting in water and weren't just resting on top of the flower frog. But I was lucky enough that I could probably get 2 and sometimes 3 stems in the same hole, so that meant my flowers pretty much stayed where I wanted them to be. So I was in control of my flowers rather than the flower frog being in control of my flower arrangement. If I'm totally honest, I'm a little bit disappointed with my flower yield. This is only my second summer of having a garden, and the first year I planted flowers which were already growing, so a bit like instant gardening with bedding plants, but I was using flowers I could cut for flower arranging. And this year, with the help of my sister, I've been growing my flowers from seed. In fact, that's a total lie. I gave the seed packets to my sister grew them, potted them on, and then gave them back to me so I could plant them in the garden. And she put so much effort into growing these seeds, and I just feel for the amount of effort she's put in, I've had lots of leafy growth with my cosmos, but barely any of the zinnias at all. I don't know whether it's because we've had a funny summer in terms of weather conditions, but I guess a bad gardener always blames her weather conditions. Let me know in the comments whether you've got any practical advice for me which I can bear in mind for next year. Interestingly though, when I was going around the garden cutting my flowers, I did spot several things which were out of season. We've got clematis fresh into flower. That was a casualty early in the year when I was a bit overzealous with my cutting back of weeds. I've also got some penstemon in flower, and that was a gift from a friend, and my birthday was in April, so that's spent all summer pretty much dormant and only just now coming into flower. And the pot marigolds, the calendula, which I sowed direct, or admittedly a little bit late in the year, end of May, beginning of June, are only just coming into flower, but on tiny, tiny stems. As you can see, I started my arrangement with my 3 key elements, the anchor points, the dahlias. I then went back in and arranged my zinnias, going quite high and then leading the eye low down as well, getting a little bit of movement and rhythm through the design, and then filled out with my cosmos, which I've got in 3 shades. There's a white, I don't think I picked any white this time, a pale pink and that dark burgundy pink you can just see off there to the left hand side. So I'm having to look really carefully now, really delving down to make sure that I could aim my stem in the right place so it locks securely down inside the glass flower block. Now, if you're interested in vintage flower arranging paraphernalia, I have actually got 2 videos you might be interested in. One is on glass flower blocks, and the other is where I showcase my metal pin holder collection. So I'll make sure I leave a link to both those videos in the description under this one. And if you're a flower arranging aficionado as well, I would love it if you would consider joining my free Facebook group. I'll leave a link to that again in the description underneath the video. Whether you're collecting things from the charity shop that are all flower arranging related, you've got a collection of vases or pin holders you'd like to show off, you might have some questions about what cut flowers you should be buying to create your next arrangement with, or even show us your finished arrangement so we can all admire it. So one final twist round, and I've created a very naturalistic style flower arrangement. This isn't something that you would probably make in one of the NAFAS flower arranging clubs, but it speaks much more to that garden vibe. More and more flower arrangers seem to be saying no to commercially grown flowers, and there's a real movement about buying your flowers locally so they've been grown and not flown. And if you ever follow a flower farmer local to you, you'll notice that they showcase their flowers in this very informal, loose style, rather than creating an old-fashioned or traditional flower arrangement, perhaps in a symmetrical triangle form. But whatever style of flower arranging you choose, you need to enjoy it and do what suits you. That's all from me for now, and I'll see you again soon.